My tale's a bit offbeat compared to others, but it sure as hell has that detective story vibe. I'm 35, my wife is 32, and our son just turned 1. Let me take you back to the beginning. It all started about 5 years ago. Our paths crossed completely by chance. We met through a social network, started chatting, and decided to meet. As soon as I saw her, I was blown away. Tall, elegant, stunning. But I felt that she was made just for me. Back then, a lot of guys were competing for her attention, but somehow I won the prize. I was over the moon with happiness. We were inseparable for a year and a half. Everything was perfect. No cheating, no wandering glances, and my parents adored her. She was my first, and there was a mutual attraction between us. So naturally, I thought, why not tie the knot? If you're already so happy, why not move on? A house, children, in short, everything you need. To solidify their commitment, they got engaged for a year. That year was even better than before, but just 2 months before the wedding, I landed a great job offer in a nearby city. We figured it was an opportunity we couldn't pass up. Then, out of the blue, she calls and asks if she can go for a stroll with a guy from the local scene, just to chat. Well, I thought, there's no ring on her finger yet, and I can't just keep her locked up at home. So I gave her the green light. After all, she could have gone behind my back if she really wanted to. Later, I found out they went on a rather cozy walk. There was a park, a bonfire, and smiles in all the photos. We had a bit of a spat about it, just for appearances, but it blew over quickly. Right before the wedding, a tragedy struck my family, and I had to rush back home, being the only man left in the family. But I figured, no worries, we were getting married soon. Everything was in motion. The dress was bought, the cafe was booked, and my dad really adored her. We waited the appropriate amount of time, and then tied the knot. Suddenly, I found myself in a house alone, living with my wife and my mom. Anyone who's been in that kind of powder keg knows what I'm talking about. It's also worth mentioning that my dad wasn't just my best friend and confidant. He was a wise mentor, someone I looked up to. If I could be even 10% of what he was for my son, I'd consider it a win. But with my mom, our conversations were limited to hello and goodbye. Needless to say, tensions were high. Then I got a call to return to work in another city, and this time with a promotion on the table. I thought, it's time to make a move. So we packed up and moved to my hometown. The job required me to travel frequently, but thankfully not too far. My mom, though, was left missing my sister and me. My sister, who also lives in another city, visits only rarely. But then I found myself buried in work, pulling all-nighters, thinking the family needed an apartment, a car, and all the other perks. My wife didn't seem to mind. She was supportive. I toiled away like a workhorse, hoping she wouldn't feel my absence too much. I even asked my sister to help her get a job at a government office. Things were looking up. We took a vacation, and during that time, decided to have a child to add to our happiness. It's important to note that after our seaside getaway, we spent about a week back in our hometown. But then, as soon as the pregnancy kicked in, my wife started growing distant. I thought maybe it was the baby sapping her energy, and I just needed to be more attentive. Somewhere along the line, I discovered she was frequently chatting on Skype with that same guy, the one she took a walk with before our wedding. But the conversations seemed innocent enough, just the usual greetings. I trusted her, so I didn't dig any deeper. Then came the baby, and suddenly our personal life hit rock bottom for 6 months. To keep things from unraveling, I sometimes took her to her mom's place for some help. Meanwhile, I bought a 1-bedroom apartment in my city, and after mustering all my energy, renovated it into a 2-bedroom in just a month, better suited for a child. We also got a brand new car to make traveling with the baby easier. Naturally, all this led to more loans, and of course, even more hard work to make both her dreams and mine a reality. She was constantly running between her mom's place and ours. Everyone seemed content, but our personal life was almost non-existent because of the baby and was infrequent at best. To be honest, it was only when her mom watched the baby back in her city that we could steal an hour or two for ourselves and some intimacy. Well, you get the picture. And then the moment of truth came. I came for a couple of days to take her home with me. We had a romantic morning planned for the second day, but when I took her away from her mom, something went wrong. I felt it. It seemed to me that she had drunk. The baby was still breastfeeding, so I thought maybe the wife was just tired. But no, it seemed to me that she had drunk it. And then she blows me up. I finished the bottle myself. Great, just what I needed. Thanks for ruining the romance. What about the baby? I told her straight out that I was going to talk to your mom. What the hell is this? Alcohol consumption and breastfeeding. What's going on? I was seriously upset. We drove back to the city where I work in silence. Then she confesses. I lied. I wasn't drinking alone. I was with him. You know the guy. Let's call him Dylan. Apparently, they were celebrating the purchase of a 2-room apartment. So I had a fight with her. I was offended, but then I thought, hey, I also drank beer with friends or went to a sauna with a friend just to relax. No kidding. It happens. We managed to sort it out. At least that's what I thought. It's our son's birthday a month later. The next morning, I see her messing around in the kitchen, and her laptop is open on the table. She's not a sports person, but I noticed that she has websites about bicycles. Dylan, on the other hand, is very fond of cycling. She calls out to me from the kitchen, "Hey, honey, look at these bikes. Maybe we could buy one for me." I look at the screen and, of course, I see that these are high-end bicycles. I start to dig into him, thinking that he definitely suggested it to me. Out of curiosity, I opened Facebook. I had never checked her account before, only on Skype, and then she showed it to me herself. And then it all became clear as day. It was definitely him. And then came the details of their little drinking spree. I was amazed. Seriously. Are you celebrating the purchase of an apartment that you bought together a year and a half ago? A year and a half ago. I didn't dig too deep, but it became clear from their messages. They were drinking at his house, and it was not for nothing. What's even more incredible is that she didn't sleep with him this time because she was afraid he was too drunk. But she trusted him enough to let him drive her home on nights like this. Absolute madness. The thought of having a baby didn't even seem to cross her mind. And what is the most interesting thing? They were drinking my Sambuca. Yes, the one I bought. They even planned to finish what their drunken state prevented them from doing that day. When I cornered her, she confessed. Yeah, they kissed. Yeah, he was all over her. And yeah, she wrote about losing an earring just to mess with him. But all her earrings were still in place. She apparently retrieved it quickly, because her texts mentioned something about finding it under the bedspread. But she kept insisting there was no sex involved. Furious, I kept reading. This wasn't just a one-off encounter. Whenever she was with her mom and the baby was under her care, she would meet him. Sometimes at a cafe, other times at his apartment. And the most infuriating part, the week before we conceived, after our vacation, she had gone to his apartment, drank red wine, and smoked hookah. Probably for the baby's health, right? Furious, I sent her packing to her mom and sat down to think about everything. I wasn't upset. I was just fuming. She acted like nothing had happened, and it was driving me crazy. She tried to calm me down, saying, "Don't worry. You're my first man, and the baby is yours." But damn it, the words, "my only one," never left her lips. She said she was just bored while I was working and wanted to have some fun. Then she detonated this bomb. "If you want, go ahead and divorce me." So, who's going to tell you what happened there? She deleted the chat almost immediately, so all I have is what little I managed to see. So I'm sitting there like an idiot, wondering if she slept with him. Does sex even count? Is dating, kissing, lying together considered a betrayal? The only thing that keeps me from losing my temper is the baby. But man, it's become hard to live with that thought. I do not know what to do next. As I sat there, I couldn't help but replay every moment in my mind, trying to make sense of it all. How did we get here? What happened to the woman I married? The woman who once looked at me like I was the center of her universe. The days felt longer, the nights even more so, as the silence between us grew. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was the end, but a part of me still clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find a way back to each other. But as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that things would never be the same. I watched as she moved around the house, a shadow of the person she once was. We exchanged polite words, went through the motions, but the connection we once had was gone. And every time I looked at our son, I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. He didn't deserve this. He deserved a happy home, parents who loved each other, who could show him what a healthy relationship looked like. But instead, all I could offer him was a fractured family, one where the cracks were too deep to mend. The final straw came one evening as I walked past our bedroom. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring blankly at the wall, lost in thought. I could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the weight of the decisions she had made pressing down on her. She didn't even notice me standing there. And that's when it hit me. I had to let her go. For her sake, for mine, and most importantly, for our son. Holding on to something that was already broken would only cause more pain. It was time to accept that our story, as beautiful as it once was, had come to an end.